Hi everyone! So I'm really hoping that I'm actually able to make this video. I've tried about 5 times and every time that I do, it just doesn't work out because Amor loves mommy's attention and I totally get that. But I figured I would just go ahead and try and make this video, and she's right next to me. She's playing with her toys, so hopefully I can get through this. And hopefully it's not super long, but I basically am making this video because I have wanted for a very long time to make a video about our journey in getting pregnant and just the pregnancy in general, as well as, you know, the day that she was born and just how that all went down and the birth story, where we are now, that we're further into it, and just our experiences that we're having and things like that. And I already have the blog, so I don't want this to be like redundant, I guess, but I'm doing it also for memories, and if we get new followers and new parents that are going through a birth diagnosis. And I know for me it was very comforting to have stories to watch and people to talk to, and I guess it feels like I am serving people through our story, and I feel like that is why I'm here. I feel like that is why she has this diagnosis. And yeah, so here it goes. So my name is Vanessa. I am 24 years old. This is little more. She's over here. I don't want to move the camera because it keeps falling. It's from my phone. She just turned 7 months old. She was diagnosed with Down syndrome, and she's also our first child. It took us 3 years to get pregnant, and I just kind of want to touch a little bit on that subject and where we're at right now with the idea of like wanting to obviously expand our family and all those things. So I found out that I was pregnant on, I think, April 13th of 2017. And yeah, it was like, I just still don't even believe that I was pregnant and I have a child. It's so surreal, and I don't think I'm ever really gonna get used to it. But you know, it took some time, and it was a hard journey to go through with seeing other friends and people, acquaintances getting pregnant. And it was hard because in my eyes it was like, well, why are they? Hold on. It was like, why are they getting pregnant, and why can't I? What's wrong with me? And for a while I didn't even have any answers as to what was going on. Come here. Do they have mama's hair? We'll see if she lets me rock her to sleep. So that was, hard not having those answers for a while, and then also just feeling like the fear that I'm never going to be able to have kids, and the fear that I'm letting my husband down because I know that he wants kids, and all of those things. And that was an emotional roller coaster, and I I still am amazed that we were able to have a baby, but it obviously gives me some fears about when we start trying again. So fast forward through all of those emotions and hundreds of failed pregnancy tests and all of that fun stuff, and I did 1 round of Clomid, and they said I wasn't pregnant, but that I ovulated. And then they said that, you know, we're gonna do another round and we're gonna give you medicine to help you get a period. And I was just so already mentally and emotionally drained from that whole first month that I was like, I don't know if I can continue doing this. But I went and got the prescription, and then my period was late for a normal cycle of 30 days. But for me, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, so I do not ovulate regularly, if at all. I might ovulate once, twice a year, if that. My periods, sometimes they'll be normal, and then sometimes I'll go 6 months without a period. It affects your weight, it affects your skin, it affects a ton of stuff. It's not fun. I don't really know how long I've had it. I mean, I feel like I started having these issues once I had a IUD, and yeah, I will never go back on any type of birth control. I really feel like it affected my fertility, and I've had those issues ever since having the IUD. So when we found out that we were pregnant, I obviously had a lot of concerns about miscarriage, because it wasn't just a journey of getting pregnant, but the journey of how can I stay pregnant, and is this baby gonna be okay? Am I gonna be okay? You know, just a lot of different worries. So I think it was like 10 to 13 weeks they offered for you to do the genetic testing, and they offered me an amnio. And when I looked into it, I just felt like it wasn't something that I was comfortable with. It was something that has possibility of miscarriage, and I just really did not feel in my heart that it was necessary. I was thinking to myself, you know what, like, I'm young, my husband's young, I don't really see why we would need this to be done. I don't want to risk losing the baby. And on top of that, I also felt that if for whatever reason our child had Down syndrome, and we found out at 10, 13 weeks, I wouldn't get an abortion. That's not something that was even an option for me. So I declined the testing, and I just tried to enjoy my pregnancy. And it did come up quite a bit for me. I did think about it a lot and wonder, but we had done so many ultrasounds and different anatomy scans that there was no cause for concern for anybody. The ultrasound people, the doctors, you know, she was very, very healthy in all the ultrasounds. So I just kind of was like, no, there's no way that this would ever happen to us. And then, you know, ouch, I'm sorry. No, hold on. Also, we had done a lot of 3D ultrasounds as well, and I mean, I was like looking for, oh my gosh, is she gonna be okay? You know, like, I want to see what her face looks like. Does she have a cleft palate? Like, things like that. But I never like noticed anything in any of the ultrasounds or the 3D pictures or anything like that. So that gave me a lot of peace of mind throughout the pregnancy, and You know, her heart rate was always good. They never detected any type of issues, health issues, concerns, things like that. The only thing that they had concerns with was for like the first 2 trimesters I was underweight, and then she was always measuring about like 2.5 weeks like ahead in her gestational age. So at like 38 weeks they were like, you're measuring like over 40 weeks or something like that. It was just weird. And yeah, so because of that, they had told me, oh well, we want to offer a C-section for you because you're not very wide on the inside, like you're very narrow, and we offer to moms that are projected to have bigger babies. And they had like shown me like her stats, and they were like, you know, she's already measuring at this weight at this gestation, so if you go to 40 weeks or past that, your baby could be like over 9 pounds. And I really did not want to have a C-section, honestly. It was one of my biggest fears. Also, having a baby be in the NICU was one of my biggest fears. A little background story on myself is that I actually worked at the hospital that I gave birth at. And you know, we would go into the like OR rooms to restock the Pyxis with medication, and we would go in the NICU to give the medication for the babies, like hand off to the nurses, and also restock the machine in the NICU as well. And I was pregnant the entire time I worked there. I got pregnant like 3 months after I got hired there. And yeah, so pretty much my entire time working there I was pregnant. And when I was there, I would just get excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, like what if I deliver in this room, or you know, like looking at like labor and delivery floor. But then being in the NICU, I'm like, oh, I could never imagine having a baby in the NICU. Like it'd be so hard. And then thinking like, oh my gosh, I would just die. I would just die if I had a baby in the NICU and I couldn't bring the baby home, or you know. And then restocking in the operating rooms, like, oh my gosh, like I would die if I had to get a C-section. Like everything that I was afraid of and did not want to have happen, it happened. And initially I wanted to have like a water birth. I wasn't like fully set on having a home birth, but I wanted to try and birth as natural as possible. But the information that I got from the doctor, I think, was like more fear-based, and I just really wanted to meet her, and I was not patient about it. And so when I heard, oh, at 39 weeks on this day we can schedule you in to get the C-section, and I was like totally down for it. But I was hoping that they would maybe induce me, or hoping that, you know, I would just go into labor sooner than that. But I went ahead and just like planned for the C-section at 39 weeks on December 19th. But I had a lot of hope that I could get myself to go into labor sooner. I did acupuncture, I did foot massages, I drank special tea, I did everything that I could do, and she didn't want to come out. And so the day came and we went to the hospital. My mom and her husband and my brother, they met my husband and I there, and I was very afraid. I wanted to cry. I had watched way too many videos on C-section recovery. I just wanted to inform myself, but I think I scared myself more because I'm just hearing people talk about how painful the recovery is, and just like what a weird feeling it is to be awake and they're like operating on you, and all these different things were going on in my mind of like, oh my gosh, what if I get sick? So that was like my biggest thing, is like, I do not want to feel sick. I do not want to feel nauseous. I do not want to throw up while they're operating on me and I'm like laying down, and what if I like throw up and I'm choking on my vomit, and just things like that. Like those were like my biggest concerns, right? Like never in my mind was it a concern of like, oh, is my baby gonna be healthy? Is my baby gonna you know, have to go to the NICU. Like I kind of had already gone past that, and then I was like more afraid for myself. So we get there and we get checked in, and it was a couple hours before the surgery, and I just like felt super uneasy and nauseous and just really afraid and also like excited, and it just felt so surreal to think like, oh my gosh, like at this time like we're gonna see our baby. And it was just like so crazy. Like I don't know, it's so weird because it's like I say it's like the best day and the worst day of my life of our lives, because it really was. Like it was so amazing because we got to meet our daughter, but then like it was full of like a lot of like not good emotions, and it was scary. And you know, I'll get into all that, but my surgery time actually got delayed because I guess there was like an emergency C-section that had come up, and I just, you know, was like, of course, like mine's not an emergency, she's nice and comfortable in there. And I, you know, I was like obviously more than understanding. And then when it was getting close to the time to be seen, my doctor came in and was like, are you ready? And I addressed some like fears that I had. I gave her my birth plan, asked for like specific like sutures to use when I got my stitches, and I want staples, like things like that. But I was like, I'm ready. I think I'm ready. Like it's now or, you know, not never, but I'm already here, so we gotta do this, you know. So I was really freaking out though. I felt like very, very nervous. And yeah, so they walked me into the operating room, which I was very familiar with. And my husband had to stay behind until I guess like they had me all like ready to go. And I sat on the table, and then they gave me the epidural, and that wasn't like as painful as they like made me feel like it was going to be. Like even during the epidural, they kept saying like, oh, it's gonna be okay, get ready, it's gonna be painful, like blah blah blah. Like I don't know, but I was just like waiting for it to be like this excruciating thing, and it wasn't. Like it was not pleasant, but it wasn't something that was like excruciating, you know. So I got that, and then they were like, okay, you gotta swing your legs up now. But like I tried turning myself, and I like trying to like swing my legs up, and it was like, oh, like I already felt myself like getting all like numb, like my feet and my legs, everything. So I was like, they had to help me lift my legs on the table, and they like put the catheter in there, and that was not fun because I wasn't completely numb yet. So I was like, oh my gosh, I could feel that, that's kind of painful. They put the catheter in, and then they put like this drape up so that you don't see when they're like, I guess, cutting you open. They have the option to have the clear drape, but I was just really felt weird about seeing like my body being like opened up. Oh shoot. And also like I felt really weird about like, I don't know, like I'm not queasy like with blood or anything, but I just was like I was really like tripping out. Like I was super nervous, and I just like, I didn't want to see anything. I just want to like close my eyes and just like be done with it. And it felt like an eternity being in there, but it really wasn't. It was probably like 45 minutes, but it felt like forever. So they're like, okay, we're gonna bring your husband in. He came in, and like I could smell like burning skin. Like I could feel like, I could still feel what they were doing, but it wasn't like painful. It was just like weird, and I was uncomfortable because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be feeling anything. And I was like telling him like, I can move my foot, I can feel what they're doing. And he's like, oh, it's okay, like you're supposed to feel like some tugging and things like that, but it's just not supposed to be painful. And I was like, well, I mean, it's not like super painful, but it's like not pleasant. And I don't know what they were using, but like I could smell like burning, like my flesh like being burned, and it was like the worst smell. Like I was just like, ew, I don't like the smell. And like I was just telling my husband, like, oh my God, it smells so bad. Like, I can't stand that smell. And like, he had a mask on, but I don't think I did. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was just really like a strong burning flesh smell. And it was freaking foul. Like, I was seriously dying. I was like, this is the worst part about the whole surgery. And I don't know, like, if they used like a scalpel, but it seemed like they were using like a laser to like cut me open and like burn everything. I don't know. It was just really weird. I don't know if that's what they were using, but that's what it just felt like. And as soon as they were doing that, like, she started going crazy. Like, I felt her move during my pregnancy, like here and there, and like I felt her move like a good amount, but it was never like in those videos where like you see a pregnant woman's stomach and it's like an alien, like this baby's just like rolling around and you can see every aspect of that baby inside the tummy. I never really experienced that. I would feel like some kicks, some rolls, like things like that, but I never really felt like a ton of movement. It was just like more like jabs. It wasn't like crazy all over. Like I feel like there's a baby in there. Like, I seriously, the whole pregnancy was just like, am I really pregnant? And like I would like push on my stomach and then she would like kick back. I'm like, okay, I am pregnant. But it was just never the way like I saw in like the videos of like a woman's stomach like moving like crazy. And I don't know if that's because like I carried further back or if she just didn't move a lot or anything like that. Like, I know the placenta wasn't in the way, because I know that can be a reason that you don't feel the movement as much or the kicks, as if like the placenta's in front, I think, but mine was in the back. So yeah, but that was like, I was freaking out because she was moving like crazy. Like, as soon as they started to cut, like she like knew or something, and like she was moving like crazy. So then I got like really like afraid, because I'm like, oh my God, like, is she okay? Are they hurting her? And it's almost like she was trying to escape from whatever like they were doing. And it just felt weird. Like, it hurt. Like, I felt it in my ribs. Like, she was like moving a ton. No, mama, no. So I don't know, like, it's so weird to think about it now, because it went by really fast, but when I was in it, it didn't really feel like it was very fast. I'm gonna try and put her right here. Hold on. So when it came time to, I guess they got to where she was, they were like, oh, we're gonna, you know, get ready to meet your baby or whatever. And, you know, my husband's with me, and I'm just like, please, I'm like, can you just like rub me right here? Like, this is super calming. So he was like, kept rubbing my nose right here, but it was like not helping at all. So it was like actually making me more like agitated and like stressed out. But I was trying to remain calm so that, like, you know, they could do the surgery like quickly and successfully. So they were like, okay, get ready. And this other doctor like jumps up and like boom, like freaking crashes on top of my stomach, like right up here, like pushing, like, so I guess they're like trying to pop the baby's head out of the incision. And she's like pushing and pushing, and I literally was just like I just remember like holding my face like, oh my God, this is so freaking weird. Like, I feel like I'm getting sumo wrestled. Like, it was so weird. Like, I just didn't think I was gonna be getting body slammed. Like, it was just really like a strange experience, and it was painful. Like, it was like literally her jumping and like putting her full weight, like boom, 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 like, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. This is freaking horrible. Like, why did I sign up for this? You know, on top of like the burning skin smell and feeling like super weird because of all this medication. And then they were like, oh, your baby's here, or head's out or whatever. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is really happening. And then all this fear that I had like kind of shifted to like excitement, and they were like pulling her out. And when they pulled her out, it was just like, it was like so much weight that just like I could feel being pulled up, and then like it just bounced back and it was like, I don't know, I want to think of it as like a bubble, and then like you pulling a bubble or so, I don't even know, like jelly, and then like it bounces back together. That's kind of what it felt like. It was just really, really, I felt my stomach like slap back, and but I felt the weight that I've been carrying for 10 months like no longer there. And I heard her cry, and I was just like, oh my God, like she's here. And I like looked over, and I could only see the back of her, and they took her to the warmer, and the NICU team's there to like assess her and see, you know, make sure she's okay and get her weight and all that stuff. Also, I forgot to mention, sorry, this video is like super all over the place. It's not organized at all, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to post it because I've had interruptions, but you know, I feel like that might make it more real. I don't know. But during the surgery, while they were trying to push her out, the drape kept falling. So like blood kind of like splashed up on us, and yeah, it was like super stressful because I'm like getting body slammed and I'm like feeling really sick, and then the drape keeps falling on me. It was a hot mess. I was like, this is horrible. Why did I even sign up for this? So it's kind of funny when I think back on it now. But yeah, anyway, so when they took her out, I heard her cry. I was like super emotional. I started crying, but then I feel like the medication really started to hit me, and I started to feel like super dizzy, and I started to get like the worst headache ever. And like I get migraines pretty frequently, but this was like, oh my gosh, it was excruciating. And I was like, why is this happening right now? Like I want to enjoy listening to my daughter like cry for the first time, and I want to enjoy this moment, but I'm like in pain. And I was like, when you're getting a C-section, you're laid down and your arms are like strapped down to the side, so I kept having to like look over that way, but it was like my neck and my head were just like killing me from like trying to look over at her, and I couldn't really move. And she was there, I feel like, for a really long time as well, but I think she was there for like maybe 5-10 minutes. And I had asked like, is she okay, because no one was really saying anything. And they're like, yeah, she's beautiful. Oh my gosh, she's got so much hair. She's so beautiful. Like, just kept saying that over and over. And then they were like, oh, you know, this is how much she weighs. And she ended up being 8 pounds. Oh my God, I'm such a bad mom. 8'11" or 8'13". I can't remember. Okay, I've got pregnancy and mom brain right now. I'm not pregnant, but the pregnancy brain never went away. I have the worst memory, and I forget everything. So yeah, so they set her weight, and they're like, well, it's still a really good sized baby for 39 weeks, and you know, whatever. So I get here, I'm talking, and she was crying, but she wasn't really crying a ton. So that's why I just was like, is she okay? They're like, no, she's good. And then they got her all wrapped up, and they brought her over to me, and it makes me so sad because when I look at the pictures now, I can see it on my face. And I hate that I can see it on my face in the pictures. But when the nurse brought her over and they put her on my chest, it was like a really awkward angle. Like she was literally like right here, and I was like trying to like look down at her. And I looked in her eyes, and it was like I didn't feel a connection with her. I felt like, whose baby is this? This is not the baby that I've envisioned for 3 years and that I've dreamt about these last 10 months. And then I looked in her eyes more, and I was like, why did I just see Down syndrome? And I like really was pissed off at myself that I even had that thought, because I instantly was like, first of all, why are you judging her appearance? And secondly, why are you not enjoying this moment? Who cares if you didn't feel this initial connection, or this isn't what you thought she was going to look like, or anything like that? Why are you even having this like really messed up thought that your daughter has Down syndrome when you know she doesn't have Down syndrome? You've gone 10 months and you would think that you would know if your daughter has Down syndrome. Like, I was just telling myself this over and over. And I was feeling really weird. I was on a lot of medication, and then they were sewing me back up, so I was like feeling really uncomfortable, and I didn't like the way anything was feeling. And we spent some time, and I'm looking at her, and they're taking pictures for us, and I like wanted to ask the doctor, and I wanted to ask my husband, I wanted to ask them, does she look like she has Down syndrome to you? But nobody said anything. In fact, my doctor sewed me up really quick, and like she left right away. Like, didn't really say anything to me about her possibly having Down syndrome or anything like that.
Are you okay? You want to sit up?
So I was like, okay. She wants to lay down, guys.
What are you doing?
So I'm like, well, if my doctor hasn't said anything, and the nurses aren't saying anything, and my husband doesn't see anything, then I'm tripping, okay? Because how would they not say anything to me? How would we not know by now if there was something abnormal, And I just was like telling myself, you know what, Vanessa, like, you've had a hell of a day, a hell of the last 10 months. Enjoy this moment. Just push that thought back to the back of your head, back of your mind, and just enjoy your baby. So I kind of pushed it away, and I was like, oh my gosh, like looking at her and like trying to figure out like who does she look like, and trying to not think about my initial impression of her. So the nurse, when they were done, they're like, hey, we're gonna finish getting you all ready to go and put you in a different bed, and then we'll take you guys to recovery, and just kind of gave us like the rundown of like what was going to happen, which I already kind of knew because I'd been to like a hospital orientation. I worked there, and I'm like an investigative person. I did a ton of research on YouTube. Like I said before, probably wasn't the best thing to do, but I already knew like we're going to be in recovery and we're going to have some alone time. So she ended up going with my husband to recovery, which is literally just like 2 beds like outside of the OR room, and they were finishing getting me ready to go and putting me on the new bed. And I was obviously freaking out. I literally asked them, am I gonna have to get into the bed by myself? I didn't even realize that I was like paralyzed, like I can't even like walk. So they laughed at me like, no, we're not gonna make you walk, like get into your bed. And I was like so concerned with like, how am I gonna get to like the next bed in the next room? I can't move. Like, yeah, but Vanessa, they have that stuff figured out. I mean, they do this for a living, but I don't know why I was so concerned with that. Like, I don't know if it was because I was trying to like deflect I don't know if it's because I was like trying to deflect like what I was actually freaking out about, Ow, Amor, no. You are so mean. You pull Mama's hair way too much. So we get into recovery, and I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment for us. We got to be there for about 2 hours, and I was asking the nurse, oh, do I need to, like, what do I do? Like, I don't know. Do I start trying to breastfeed her? And I was always like thinking or under the impression that like when you have a baby, you literally try skin to skin and try to breastfeed right away. Like you want to establish that, and you want to establish baby latching on and all of that stuff like right away. So I was asking her, because I'm like, I've done like a lot of like research on this, and I just kind of felt like that's something that we should be doing. And the nurse was like, oh, her stomach's the size of a cherry. You know, they have so much like stored up when they're from being in your body and the placenta. Like they're good. They don't need to eat right away. Like they're fine. She's fine. Babies don't have to eat right away. But I was just kind of like, are you sure? Because I don't know. It doesn't really sound normal to me. And I watched a lot of birth videos, home births, things like that. And I just always seen like babies go to mom and to breast. And even if they're not really drinking, they're, you know, establishing the latch and that connection. So it helps bring the milk in. And yeah, so I just really felt weird, because I thought that we were gonna start breastfeeding initially. I didn't even know like when does the milk come in. Like I was still really just like, what is even happening? I don't know what's gonna happen next. So I really relied on the nurses, but unfortunately the care that I got was not the best. My concerns were not really met with any type of comfort. So we were there, and I kept asking like, oh, does she need to latch on? Should we be should we be trying to establish a latch? Like what do we do? And she just kept telling me like, no, she's fine. Like we'll have a lactation nurse come in once you guys are in your postpartum room, and she'll show you, and you guys can do it in the room and all that stuff. So we get moved to postpartum finally, and my husband has already sent out all of the messages to everybody. I made it social media official that she had graced us with her presence. And we got to the postpartum room, and then the family started to come in. I would say like maybe like an hour after we were in there. I still hadn't been with the lactation nurse yet or anything. No one had helped me. I addressed my questions with the new nurse that I had, asking about, you know, shouldn't she eat? I feel like she really should eat. I just think that's kind of strange. And that same nurse was like, oh no, it's fine. Like, you know, the lactation nurse, we're gonna get her in soon, and she's gonna help you trying to get her to latch on and those kind of things. So I was just like, okay, like they're nurses, they know more than me. But I still felt like, you know, I felt like she was kind of being like lethargic by that point. I felt like it had been a couple of hours since she had been born, and I just felt, she felt like really like floppy. And I know that for like babies, I don't expect them to be super strong, but I don't know, like she felt like so, like if I even held her, like she would just like flop over. So I just like concerned that she was like really hungry and like or tired or something. And so, you know, I kept asking multiple times if we should try to feed her. I'm sorry, she's pulling my shirt apart. Oh my gosh. I know, Mama, I'm almost done. So family comes in, they meet her, take pictures, everyone loves her, and then everyone leaves. And it was like really cold in the room. The air conditioner was like super high and the temp was really low, and I was kind of in and out of it because I was on like a ton of pain meds, because I was already starting to feel pain within like the first hour of being in the recovery. So I was already like pumped full of like morphine and all this stuff, like trying to manage the pain. And I was like seriously so afraid of the fact that they were going to make me stand up. They try to make you stand up within 24 hours. And so I just remember watching all these videos of how painful it is the first time you stand up after your C-section, and like you feel like your insides are gonna fall out. It's like the worst pain ever. So I was like super nervous about when are they gonna make me stand up? I kept asking, like, are you gonna make me stand up? Please don't make me stand up. And they were like, yeah, you know, we have to. We gotta make sure, like, you know, as soon as you start walking and standing up, the faster you're gonna heal. But I was just like, please don't do that. I'm already in so much pain sitting down. Like, I can't even imagine trying to stand up. But obviously, like we can't make you stand up for a long time because you're like still numb, like you can't walk or anything. So I was really in and out of it. My dad and his wife were there and they were holding her, and I kept like thinking, like, is she okay? Like, I have not heard her cry or make any noise for a while. And they're like, yeah, she's fine. My husband's like, oh no, she's fine. And I couldn't really see her because she was like wrapped up in like the little like receiving blanket that they have there. And I just had a really bad feeling. I was like, are you sure she's okay? Like, I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my, I couldn't believe how much time had passed. I'm like, she still has not eaten anything. Like, she's like, she needs to eat. And I'm like, where is the lactation nurse? Like, she needs to eat. And I had like kind of gone upset with myself, like how much time has passed, like, you know, but I'm like I said, kind of in and out of just sleep and zoning out because I'm on a lot of medication. And I was like, are you sure she's okay? And my dad's wife, Tina, was holding her. And she's like, yeah. And she brought her over to me and like kind of like lifted the blanket up, and like, oh my God, her entire face was like blue and purple. And I was like, oh my God, no. Like, I was like, what are you? I was so freaking pissed at my stepmom. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is not okay. Hold on. Please let go, Mama. I was like, this is not okay. I was like, that's not okay. And I touched her face. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's ice cold. And I'm like trying to grab the remote from the bed, and I'm like calling the nurse, and I'm like, I need someone in here now. My baby's blue and purple, and I don't know if she's breathing. Like, I think she's dying. And the nurse goes, what do you mean? I'm like, I need my nurse in here right now. What are you doing? Like, I couldn't even like get up to like go get anybody. I felt so hopeless, you know? And so she's like, okay. Like, no, like, action, no urgency, nothing. Like, it was just like, what are you talking about? So this nurse comes in, not even my nurse, and she's like, she's acting like it's her first day. Like, she does not know what to do, and she's like, well, what's going on? And I'm telling her, like, look at my daughter. Like, oh my God, like, she's purple and blue. Like, she's not, I don't know if she's breathing. Like, I'm freaking the bleep out, okay? I am freaking out. And I'm like, do something. Like, why are you just in? She's asking me all these questions, and I'm like, I don't know why you're asking me questions. Like, do something, have some urgency. Like, I was freaking so pissed off, and I was panicking. I thought my daughter died. Like, I was like, please resuscitate her. Like, she's dying. Like, oh my God, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. So she brings, like, another nurse comes in, and they're like looking at her, and all I see is them are just like flopping around, and I just see like her, like, completely, like, her color is just blue. And they're like, let's test her glucose, and they're like, oh no, she's breathing. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, she's breathing. And then my stepmom's trying to ask questions, and we're all just like freaking out, like, what's going on? And they're all looking at her. And at the hospital, they really try to make it that the baby never leaves the room with the parents in them or whatever. So I obviously couldn't go with it. Finally, I kept asking, and then she snapped at me because she was like, okay, man, like, Mama, like, we gotta take her. It's gonna be okay. Like, Daddy's gonna come with us, like, whatever. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, why are you taking her? Like, I want to know what's going on. And then my husband left. He left his phone, so he had no way he didn't communicate with me at all what was going on. And they were like kept trying to like test her glucose. So they were gone for maybe an hour and a half, and my stepmom was like trying to send me messages, but like she was kind of interfering with the care because they were trying to talk to my husband, but she was trying to be the one that was getting all the information. So it was actually making it a lot more stressful because the information I was getting from her wasn't actually factual. So that was an issue that I was having because I wanted to get the actual information, and she was like stressing me out more. And yeah, so my husband finally comes back, and he has like all these papers, and he was like, they want to admit her into the NICU. I asked the nurse that was there to come in and talk to you about what's going on with her. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on with her? Like, I don't understand. I thought she was totally fine. Like, they said she was totally fine. And he was like, I don't really know like how to explain it. There's like a couple different things that are going on with her, but I need to sign all this paperwork, and I need your help because I don't really know what I'm signing, and I just need your information as well. So he was like filling out the papers, and he's like, but I did ask for the head nurse to come in, and he was like telling me how this head NICU nurse was like chewing out the nurses that I had in postpartum. And she was like, why haven't you given this baby anything to eat, you know? And they were trying to tell her like, oh, it's because she wants skin to skin or whatever, which I don't really understand how that even makes any sense. Like, I never said that my daughter can't have formula. I never said that she can't have a bottle. I never said that, you know, I wasn't gonna breastfeed. I actually asked multiple times to feed her. And yeah, so that was like their defense, but I guess ultimately like Amor was like starving. Like, she was hypoglycemic. Her blood sugar was like at a, I don't know if it was 24 or 34. The goal is to be at 50 and above, but, or what they had told me, I don't know like what the range 50 and what, but it was at a 24 or a 34. So they were basically saying like she needed to eat like right away. So she was basically freaking starving. So that nurse was like, and I don't know what your protocol is, but you need to feed a baby within 10 minutes. If they're not latching onto the mom's breast, like, you need to offer a bottle or have lactation in there to help with mom, to help baby eat. Like, the baby is a priority. So is mom, but she's good. But if the baby has not eaten, how can you let this baby go hours and hours and hours without eating anything? So I was like, oh my gosh, I freaking told the nurses multiple times that I'm concerned she's acting lethargic. I feel like she needs to eat. And no one wanted to freaking get lactation in there. No one wanted to even help me with any of that. And so, you know, I was obviously really upset about that. And then he was saying how, you know, they said that she was like cold. I guess the air conditioner was really low, and my dad had taken off her hat while I wasn't aware of it. And so it's really important for them to have their little like beanies on, because it helps them with keep them warm and regulate their temperature. And also needing skin to skin, like baby was supposed to be with me the whole time or with dad, but like, you know, she's visiting, the people that are visiting want to see her. And you know, so there's a lot of things that led up to her health declining within those hours. So the NICU nurse came in, and she basically reiterated to me what my husband had told me about the glucose being low, her body temperature being low, and then she had mentioned that she was having some breathing issues. And so she was telling me sometimes with C-sections, babies do have oxygen issues, because when babies are born and they're going through the birth canal, their lungs go through like this process and they acclimate to get ready to be earthside. So it's common for babies that have C-section to have issues with their with breathing. So, you know, I obviously felt bad when I'm hearing like these things could be caused because she wasn't ready to come out, and you know, those kind of things. But can I have it, Mama?
Oh, really?
So they're like, for those reasons we're gonna admit her into the NICU. But then she was like, but there is another reason that you know, there is another thing that we're gonna be doing, and I have a question to ask you. And so she was just asking me about prenatally if there was anything that was going on, and I told her I had a textbook pregnancy. Everything was good except for hi Mama, you touching Mommy's shirt? Except for you know, the fact that I got the C-section because she was showing much larger for, you know, her gestational age. And so she's like, okay, well, the only reason why is because, you know, your daughter has some features of Down syndrome. And so because of that, we're going to do a chromosome test, and we should hopefully get those results in a couple of days. And we're admitting her to NICU, and you know, whenever you're ready and the nurses here want to help you to get up and walk or take you in a wheelchair to come to NICU to see her, you know, that's always an option for you. If you're wanting to breastfeed, we're still going to have lactation come in and help you, so that to help your milk come in. And you know, obviously breast milk is really important for babies, and you know, if you're gonna pump, we'll get the milk and collect it and feed it to her in the NICU. You can feed her, you can stay in the NICU for however long that you want to. And I just was trying so hard to not break down, because I already knew that she has Down syndrome, because I knew it when I first saw her. And I forgot to mention that when everybody left and it was just my mom, before she was leaving, I had told her, like, Mom, I feel really messed up to even be thinking this and to even ask this. But I asked her, do you think that Amor looks like she has Down syndrome? And my mom like slapped me on the arm and was just like, are you crazy? Like, what's wrong with you? She's beautiful. She looks like you did when you were a baby. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I'm trying to justify that as well, thinking like, oh, she just looks like me and looks like Chris, and it's a combination of all of our different genetics and facial features. And you know, she was yanked out of me forcefully with the vacuum and all this stuff, so maybe she just looks swollen. But you know, I had this really weird feeling when I first saw her that she has Down syndrome. And so my mom was just like, you're crazy. Like, I don't see it. My mom's like really intuitive too, so it's weird that she didn't catch on to that. Like, she tells me now, like she felt like there was something, but it was more because like her face was like really red and almost like bruised. And that kind of happened because of just the force to get her out. She did have some bruising, like on her arms. She had like a hematoma on her head, things like that. But she kind of made me feel like, oh, like, you're just crazy, Vanessa. This is what you do. You overanalyze. So I felt more comfortable after my mom told me that she didn't see it. But I still never mentioned it to anybody. But when that nurse brought it up, I instantly knew. I was like, how could I not know? Like, I'm her mom. And that was my first thought of her, is that she has Down syndrome. So, you know, when she said those words, I feel like I just kind of stopped listening. I didn't even know how to process that information, because then it was like, okay, I can unleash everything that I've been like kind of thinking and feeling since I first saw her. Even to my husband, I never even told him, you know, like, do you think that she looks okay? Like I asked him, like, do you think that she looks okay? But I wasn't like, do you think that she has Down syndrome? Because my thought process was, well, what if I'm like thinking this of her and then she ends up not having Down syndrome? Is it messed up that I'm thinking that she looks like she has Down syndrome, you know? So I don't know. It was just, my mind was just in so many different places, and it makes me really sad now. And when I get emotional talking about it, it's like I'm emotional because I feel bad for who I was. I feel bad for my old self. Like, I feel so sad for like the Vanessa that was dealing with all of that, those emotions, those fears. Like, I wish that there was some way that there was a possibility for where I am now emotionally and mentally to go talk to myself 7 months ago and like show a glimpse of this life and how it's changed my heart, and how it's changed my husband's heart, and how it's impacted so many people, friends and family, and so much good has come out of this. And I found a lot of time to really process, what was going on. And those days in the hospital were hard, not only physically hard, but emotionally the most difficult thing that I personally have ever been through. I felt, and I was made to feel, like I had given birth to an alien child, and that I shouldn't even celebrate this life. I didn't get congratulations, your daughter might have Down syndrome. I wish I could have gotten some type of celebratory thing to say, like, you know what, if she does have Down syndrome, here's all these amazing resources. We can have a local family come in and talk to you. Like, I so wish that I had that opportunity, that there was something in place for that situation, for me to have, for my husband to have, for my family to have that kind of comfort, and knowing that if worst case scenario in this situation, what we felt at the time was a worst case scenario, that she does possibly have Down syndrome, that there's people to talk to about it. And the nurse had also told us that, they have been wrong before, and that she may not have Down syndrome, that it could just be the features, but they had been wrong before, that they had suspected children have had Down syndrome when they're born, and they end up not having it, and it's actually just like, this is just what our family looks like, and we look kind of different when we're born. And so I found a lot of comfort in thinking, like, no, she doesn't have Down syndrome. Like, that's not our life. This is not in the plan. This is not the life that I wanted or my husband wanted. There's no way God would do this to us. Like, how are we fit to be parents of a child with a disability or a different ability? And I just, tried to not think about it as much, but it consumed my every thought. Like, we cried for hours and hours and hours. It was like we had no time to rest. And I was in so much pain physically, trying to be in the NICU, but also needing to be taken care of as well. I couldn't go to the bathroom myself. I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't get out of bed by myself. And it was like that even after I got out of the hospital. Like, I needed help for about 4 or 5 weeks, and then I could kind of start to do things more independently. But it was really hard. And then, going into the NICU the next morning, well, obviously that night I was like, I need to see my baby. And like, she was my motivation. I don't know how I would have gotten up. I don't know how I would have found the strength to stand up, but she gave me that strength and motivation to get up and to see her in the NICU. It was painful. Like, it was completely awful. Like, and I'm not saying this to be like, if anyone out there is gonna get a C-section or whatever, but it was horrible. The worst physical pain I have ever experienced, hands down, so far. Emotional pain was the whole Down syndrome possibility, and all of those fears, and the reality of, like, this is literally not what I had expected or wanted it all to have happen in this birth plan, in this birth hope, birth idea. Like, literally everything went out the door. It was nothing that I had thought it was going to be. And I just really, I look back and I'm proud of myself. I'm so incredibly proud of myself. I'm proud of my husband. I'm proud of my family for for coming through and being there to support us and to tell us that they're gonna love her no matter what, if she has Down syndrome or not. And it was like all of those things I really needed to feel like I can do this whether she has it or not. And I kind of just tried to focus on just that. So we find out after, we go in the next day after I'd already seen her and made the first walk to the NICU, and ended up having to be wheelchaired there. But the doctor, the head pediatrician or neonatician, was talking about Down syndrome and the things were going on, and just reiterated why she was admitted. And I guess that she had like a hole in her heart, and so they were like, that's really common with Down syndrome and she might need open heart surgery and like all this stuff. And I was just like crying and crying and crying. So I'm like, okay, so not only does my daughter have these hypoglycemia issues, oxygen issues, possible hole in her heart, now you're telling me that she might need open heart surgery on top of the fact that she might have Down syndrome. And it was just like so much like at one time. And I just cried. I just could not even filter it anymore. Like I just seriously felt like I was having an out of body experience. Like I just didn't understand why is this happening? I just want to be in my room with my baby, and I just want to go home with her. I just don't want her to have Down syndrome. Like just thinking like so many things of like, why is this going on? And questioning like, were we even supposed to have a kid? Is this punishment? Like what did I do wrong? Like, like just feeling so honestly very negative about the situation. And then the more time that we spent with her in the NICU, and we got to like connect with her more, it started to matter less and less. And we just both kind of like cried to each other. My husband and I were just like, I don't care if she has Down syndrome. I don't care. I love her already. I just want her to be healthy. I just want to take her home. I just want to love on her and give her the best life. And I think we were both just like really thinking like, no, she doesn't have Down syndrome, like, but if she does, like, we love her, it doesn't matter. And we were so afraid of like other health stuff going on that, like the open heart surgery possibility and the hole in the heart and oxygen issues, all those things that like Down syndrome kind of became like the less like scary thing on the whole scale of what was going on. It was still very much a concern and a fear of ours, but the health stuff was what was more prominent at the time, and that was already known, whereas the Down syndrome was still like, this is a possibility. And I was just like, hoping for a negative result, negative test, not like I want this to be like a bad thing, and I want, I hope that she has Down syndrome and all these things. So she was there for about 4 or 5 days, and she was doing better and better. She had 2 echocardiograms on her heart. The first one showed that there was a hole. I think it was called like PPHN or something like that. He was like trying to tell me like all the medical terminology to explain what was going on with her heart, and how babies that are born C-section or earlier than when they were supposed to come out, or if they're not ready, sometimes they do have a heart murmur that ends up closing up. So, by the grace of God, that is what happened. The little hole in the murmur, it closed. Her heart was good. The second echocardiogram confirmed that she had no heart issues. So that was like half the battle. So they just basically told us like, the good news is that if your daughter does have Down syndrome, she's already on the 50% that do not have the heart issues, which is amazing, because a lot of times children that are born with Down syndrome have heart issues and have to get the open heart surgery to fix those issues. And so I was already just like, God, like that is already a win for us. It's like our first win. I am so excited that she doesn't have these issues. And you know what, it kind of made me to feel like, oh, she probably doesn't have Down syndrome. Like she doesn't even have like this health issue that's really common with Down syndrome. So I was already thinking like, oh, this means she doesn't have Down syndrome. But then it was like, if she does have it, then at least her health is good, you know. So she ended up getting discharged the day before Christmas Eve. I went and got a pump rental, and we went home, and we were there just connecting with her and loving her. And she just really grew on us. Like, I kind of just tried not to think about it, but it still consumed like my every thought. I know that it consumed my husband. My mom stayed with us at the time because I needed a lot of help just getting up out of bed, even taking care of her. It was so hard because like my husband had to take care of me, help me go to the bathroom, bathe me, like do all, like help me wash myself, everything. And then like trying to get out of bed to go to the bassinet to pick her up, all of that was really difficult. I couldn't get out of bed, so I needed his help for everything. And then, you know, so that's why my mom was there, because she really helped us out, helped me to like just be able to go to sleep. But I was so afraid to even go to sleep. Like, I was like, if I sleep, she's gonna die. Like, so paranoid, stressed out, like, you know. So that was just really difficult for us. And I don't know, it's just, I'm so glad we're not in that place emotionally anymore. The ending of this video, I had to take a break really quick, but where was I already forgot. Oh, so we took her home and we got to like connect with her more. And she came home on the 23rd or 24th, I think the 23rd of December. And you know, that whole time it was like I didn't want to research Down syndrome, and I didn't want to go on the internet because the doctor said do not go to the internet for anything, because it's literally the worst of what could possibly happen with your child if she does have Down syndrome. But I was like, I need to know what's to like come, if this is really what's gonna happen. And so I just was trying so hard to not do it, but I had to. I wanted to know more information. So we had her, I'm sorry, I keep getting text messages. We had her pediatrician appointment, and we got in like right away because I told them that she had just been in the NICU. And so they looked at her, and I told them about the whole Down syndrome possibility, and the doctor was super sweet. Like, she was not like, oh yeah, she definitely has it. She was just kind of like, well, we'll see what they say. And, you know, and she kind of said that, you know, she does not have a lot of features of Down syndrome. You know, she does have a nose bridge. It's not as flat as what's usually what happens with Down syndrome and things like that. So, I also felt really hopeful. Like, she doesn't have this. She doesn't have the single crease in the hand, which is also really common with Down syndrome. So there were like a lot of things pointing that she doesn't have it. So I kept reading over like the discharge report, and I was like getting so pissed off that the report says like trisomy 21 in fetus, like all this stuff. But I was like, this isn't confirmed. Like, why are they saying this? And so I was just like so determined to like prove them wrong. Like, there's no way she has Down syndrome. Like, they're wrong. Just like they were wrong that she needed to eat food. Like, I was so ready to like call them and be like all pissed off, and like, you know, I mean, the comments that were made at the hospital, like, I don't really even want to get into that, but it was just like, I felt like I was the talk of the town when I was there, and it was just like so negative and just not a good experience. So I was like super excited that like the pediatrician didn't really feel like, you know, that she did have Down syndrome, or, you know, wasn't like saying for sure that she did feel like she had it. So you know, it was about 2 weeks, I think, that we got to spend time with her, and we didn't know the reality of our story. And on January 3rd, 2018, I got a call from her doctor right before my mom and I were gonna leave for me to go get a pedicure. I just wanted something to make me feel better, because I was just like feeling so crappy. And it's the worst phone call of my life. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I still think about it because it just makes me so sad to think of like my mindset back then, like compared to now. And she just like told me that your daughter does have Trisomy 21, and I'm so sorry. I know that's not what you want to hear. And she just automatically started like telling me all these things, like, you know, you guys need to do genetic testing, you need to find a support group, like you need to do these things. It's going to help you guys heal and get through the grief process. And I just like was like, okay, thank you, and hung up. And I cried so hard. I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I went back into the house and I was so afraid to tell Chris. Like, I felt like I just failed him as a wife, everything. Like I couldn't get pregnant, and then the child I gave him has a disability, and I just felt like, what if he leaves me? And, you know, just having all these insecurities and fears. And I was just like, it was just a weird place to be in, because it's like now I'm in a different world now, because now I have this information and I already know our reality. Whereas like he's at home right now, he's in the house spending time with her, and he still has all this hope, and he does not know that she has Down syndrome. So it was like, I just wish like I could have kept him like frozen in that moment forever, that he would never have to hear those words come out of my mouth. The reality, the truth. I just sat in the car and I just like told my mom, like, I don't want to tell him. It makes it more real. I do not want him to know. I don't want him to feel this pain that I have inside of my heart, inside of my chest. Like, I just don't want my husband to feel that. I want to protect him from that. I don't want him to know. But like, obviously that's not a possibility. Like, I need to tell him. It's his daughter. Like, he needs to know. And so I went into the house and he was like, what's wrong? Like, and I just like, I started crying, and I just told him I just got the phone call from the doctor, and he was like, no, don't tell me, no, don't say it. And I was just like, she has it, and I'm sorry, and I don't know like what to even say. I don't understand how this is happening. I don't understand why this is happening. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And he was like, don't say you're sorry. Like, this is not your fault. Like, this is our daughter. And like, he was so strong. Like, I mean, he cried. We cry still sometimes. And I don't even really cry because I'm still upset about it. I cry because I think about our journey, and it's like tears of joy, and then there's tears and emotions like right now where I remember everything. And it's hard not to be emotional, because those were the emotions that I felt at that time and place. And so the more people that we meet, and the newer families that we're interacting with that have a 3 or 4 week old child, and they just got that diagnosis, and they're going through that really hard time of processing that grief of losing the child that you thought you were going to have, and loving and learning more about this child that you do have, and growing with them. And so it brings up a lot of emotions when I see new parents of a child with Down syndrome coming into our life, coming into our support groups, coming into our EIP, you know. And it's like, it's hard not to like think of your own journey and your own story and not get emotional. I think I'll be emotional about her birth story my entire life. Even when she's 20, 30, 40 years old, I'm probably still going to be emotional talking about the day that we found out she had Down syndrome, the day that it was even mentioned to us. It's an emotional thing. Am I mad that she has Down syndrome still? Am I pissed off at God, and do I regret having her? Absolutely not. I am in a completely different place now. I love her. I love who she is. I love the way God made her. She's exactly who she needs to be, and she's exactly what my heart and what my husband's heart needed. I needed this. This has made me grow as a woman, as a wife, as a mom. I've changed so much from her. She has made me a better person. She has made my life more meaningful. She has given me a purpose. So I can't sit here and say that I regret it, that I would change her. Obviously, I wish I could change the world. I wish I could change different things. I wish I could change the way people will look at her, the world will look at her. I wish I could change those things, but I do not wish that I could change her, because she is exactly who God wants her to be. She's exactly the daughter that I needed and that I dreamt of. I just didn't know it. And she agrees too, apparently. So, you know, it's hard, you know, those first weeks, months of learning that your child does have Down syndrome, and it can be information overload with all the services that you want to get them started with. And, you know, we just really dove right into the Down syndrome community, but we've met a ton of amazing people. And it's like, I see the people whose lives are impacted by a child with Down syndrome, and it's like, they're freaking special people, you guys. Like, they're just so amazing. And it's like, I used to question, how can I be fit for this? But now I question, how can I not? How can we not be fit for this? I feel like truly everything happens for a reason. And I believe that we had to go through the struggle of fertility and all the heartache and like loss of wanting a child, and like the negative tests, and like, you know, everything that had gone on in those years before we got pregnant with Amora, that really prepared our hearts for the journey that we're on right now, and to go through everything that we went through with being in the hospital and the diagnosis and things that just have come up along the way, along this journey in this season of life. Like, I'm encountering new things all the time. You know, I just had my first encounter with someone that recognized that Amora had Down syndrome. No, I've never been approached before. And so, you know, I had my first encounter and I was emotional about it. I didn't like the way I felt about it. I didn't like how I was processing it after that happened. And so I'm learning through this journey that I need to give myself grace, and that it is okay to have certain emotions about things that are new. And now I know the next time I get approached, or as she gets older, and if someone makes fun of her or someone says something, that I'm just getting stronger. I'm becoming a stronger advocate for my daughter. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks of her. Just like it doesn't matter what people think of me. Like, it's so like superficial, honestly. And once I got over self-image and like freaking out about what people would think of her, and you know, should I even announce that she has Down syndrome? Like, how do I even announce that? You know, and so that kind of helped me to want to write her birth story and to create the blog that I have for her, a little extra more. And, you know, all of those things have just been really therapeutic for me. And I feel that through this journey, it's allowing for me to help other moms, other dads, other families to see like the light at the end of like that really, really dark, grief-stricken tunnel. Like, it just really has just given my life purpose. And my hope and dream one day is that I will be that person that I wish I had in the hospital. My goal is that one day I can have some type of partnership or volunteer work with like a hospital where I can be contacted if there's a family that has the same situation as us that has really shocking information. And, you know, especially when like you think you're going in with like an idea of like what your baby's going to be like, and then that's not the reality, and then you have to just literally have this whole process of grief. It's really like losing a child. It's like a death almost, because you're saying goodbye to a child that you envisioned, you know, and embracing the child that you have, and loving them, and you know, so that's my hope, that I can bring that kind of comfort to new families. And that's why I have the blog. That's why I'm making this video. That's why I have her Instagram account. Like, it's not just for myself, but it's because I found comfort in other people's, Instagrams, different social media outlets, other people's blogs. Like, I wrote a blog when I was in the hospital that just, like, I cried so hard before I even knew, like, officially from her test results that she had Down syndrome. I read a story and it was like everything I felt. It was every thought that I had, and it was like, I have to give myself that grace. And when Amor was like 3 or 4 weeks old, her pediatrician told me that there was another patient that was 6 months old and she had Down syndrome, but the mom was super positive and like go-getter, like very like positive about her daughter's diagnosis. And I was like, I need to talk to her. I need somebody to tell me that I am not a horrible person for not wanting this life, having regrets, because those were all very real emotions that I felt in the beginning. And so having that conversation with her on the phone for a couple hours, that really changed my mindset on the whole situation. I mean, I needed to hear a mom that was 6 months ahead of me in this journey to tell me 6 months ago I was having those exact thoughts, and that is exactly how I felt. And you know what? It is okay. It's okay if you're not like, yay, Down syndrome, I'm embracing this, I'm an advocate. Like, you are not gonna just jump right into that right away. Everyone deals with it differently. And I feel like I kind of bounced back really quickly, like once I had that conversation with her and I started to follow different families on Instagram that do have Down syndrome as a part of their life, and reading stories about it and finding comfort in how often this happens. Like, this happens to a lot of people, and it actually happens to a lot of young moms, because they think, oh, if you're older you have a higher chance of having a child with Down syndrome, but more young moms are the ones that are having the kids, so it actually is a higher number in younger moms. And so this obviously, created a lot of comfort knowing that, oh my gosh, that person and that person and that person and that person and this person on Instagram and this person in this blog, like, they all went through what I went through and they felt what I felt. And then going to conferences, going to support groups, going to the class that she goes to every Wednesday in Laguna, like, those are all, like, it's for her, but it's like really for like us as well. Like, you have to have a support group, you have to have that connection. And if you're not ready in the beginning, like, that's fine. Sometimes you just have to go through those emotions and go through your grief. But like, I seriously survive so much more now because of the women and the families that I have met along this journey. I've met incredible people. I have lifelong friends, and I'm excited for her because she gets her life, like, during her whole life, and it's exciting, and we all get to go through these milestones together, and it's just very exciting. So anyway, this was just the video version of the birth vlog / journey to getting pregnant and pregnancy story. I'm hoping that the video comes out somewhat decent after editing it. Hopefully the fan in the background wasn't too much. Sorry for all the interruptions with Amor. It was definitely not as smooth as I hoped it would be, but it's the reality of life. I want to make this video, and I have a 7-month-old daughter, so it's gonna be a little bit challenging with the interruptions. But I just want to thank everybody for all the support and love, family and friends, people that read the blog. And if you're a new parent, new mom that is going through it and having a really, really hard time, just know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Reach out to your resources, reach out to your regional center, get involved, find your group, find your people. There's so much out there that makes this journey just even more beautiful than what it is already on its own. So I just I'm so thankful for where we're at. I wish I could go back in time and tell myself that I don't need to worry. It's all the way it's supposed to be. It's all the way God meant it for it to be. So, alright guys, thank you for watching. If you're watching this video, thanks for subscribing. subscribing to my blog and for reading. God bless.